Not necessarily. Okay. Listen, I just want to talk about how you would have approached number 1 and 2. I'm not going to do both of them, but notice they said what? Estimate. All I did was go through and mark the full ones first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. There was 16 full ones. Between these two, that would make 17. Between these two, that would make 18. Between these two, that would make 19. Between these two, that would make at least 20, maybe a little bit more. That would make 21. So somewhere between 21 and 22, probably. You see what I mean by estimate? Here they didn't ask me to find the exact area of this, but use this grid to figure out how many squares would be filled in. But you understand how to estimate when you're using a grid like that. Okay. When you get to a problem like number 3, did anybody need this one worked out? Yes. Okay. When you get to a problem like number 3, the first thing you have to decide is, where are you going to break this apart? And I broke it apart right here. And that gave me 2 shapes. Gave me a triangle, and it gave me a rectangle. And listen, for those people that had nothing done, then there's no real reason, because you've been doing the area of a rectangle since about the 4th grade, right? Can you find the area of this little rectangle over here? How would I find the area of the rectangle, Ash?
It would be 3 times base times height.
Okay, and what's the base?
The base is 3 feet and the height is 6 feet.
And what is 3 times 6?
That would be, I'm not real good at all this stuff.
Okay. Well, it would be what? 18 feet squared. Okay? If you didn't do anything else on this problem, every single person in here should have been able to do that part. And you'll notice, I didn't write down the area of this, just a number on this line. What did I write down? 2 different shapes. I've only worked one of the 2 out. What's the formula for a triangle? 1/2 base times height. Okay? Be careful when you go to find the base and the height of this triangle. What is the base of the triangle? But it's not. What's the base of the triangle? It is 12. It's 15. Take away this 3. The base of the triangle is 12. What's the height of the triangle? 12. It's this 6 plus this 6. Everybody see that? So, I would take 12 times 12 divided by 2. 144 divided by 2 for 72 feet squared. This is 72. This is 18. Does everybody see that I took the time to write down the pieces for each of my shapes? I calculated that shape. What am I going to do with them now that I've calculated them? I'm going to add them together. I'm going to take 72 plus 18, which is going to give me 90 feet squared. This is my answer. If all you have down on a sheet of paper is 90, I'm going to assume that you've copied it. I didn't do it that way. I can. I can do it all in my head. I need to see the math that's involved. Everybody understand number 3 and how that I did it? How many people ended up with 108 just out of curiosity? Do you know what the mistake is that you made? If you ended up with 108, you used 15 as the base of your triangle and forgot to take this 3 off the edge. Do I need to leave it up there for another minute? Everybody got it copied? That's copying it. Number 4. When I did this, I had to decide where I was going to separate things. There's certainly more than one way to separate it. I personally separated it like this. That gave me a square, it gave me a rectangle, and it gave me another rectangle. Does everybody see that this is a square? It's 12 by 12. Now, if you use length times width on a square, it's certainly okay. If you know that the area is equal to the side squared, either works. Because the length times the width is still 12 times 12, which is what the side squared is. So, the area of the square is 144. Everybody with me on the square? Should everybody have been able to find the area of a square? Even if you couldn't do the rectangles, there should have been something that everybody in here could have done. Some part of it. The next rectangle. Remember, area is equal to length times width, or base times height. This is 4. How far is it from here all the way up to here? Well, it's 4 to here, and it's 4 more up, so this is a total of 8. So my length and width are 4 times 8. Well, what is 4 times 8? 32. My next rectangle, same formula. What are my length and my width? They're 4 and 8. Which is still what? 32. I found all 3 pieces. What do I do with my 3 pieces? I add them together. 144, 32, 32. 4 and 2 is 6. 2 more is 8. 4 and 3 is 7. 3 more is 10. 208 meters squared. This is just an answer. I don't expect to see just numbers on your sheet of paper. I expect to see the steps and the work involved in how to get there. Questions on how we did number 4? Can I go to the next one? Did anybody need me to do number 5? If I were going to do it, how would I do it? How many shapes are there? There's 2 shapes. What am I going to find the area of? A rectangle and a triangle. Sure. How do you find the area of a rectangle? Area equals length times width. How do you find the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height. What's the length of my rectangle? 16. What's the width of my rectangle? 8. What's the base of my triangle? It is 6. If you don't see it, this whole thing is 16, but I've taken 10 back off of it here. So this is 16 minus 10, which is 6. What's the height of my triangle? 4. And again, if you don't see it, this whole thing is 12, but I've used up 8 of it here, so there's 4 more here. Once I have these numbers, it's just putting numbers into a calculator. This would have been 16 times 8. This would have been 6 times 4 divided by 2, which means this would have come up to 12. This would have come up to, is it 128? And then I would have done what with these two numbers? Add them together, which is why it comes up to 140 feet squared. Does everybody see the method that I'm using? It really is the method that's going to keep you from making simple mistakes. Take the time to show each individual piece, break it apart. It's also going to make it so that I can figure out if you did make a mistake, where the mistake might be made. Pretty good? What shapes are here? There's 4 semicircles and 1 what? Square. If there's 4 semicircles, couldn't I calculate the area of 1 circle and then multiply it by 2? Wouldn't that give me all 4 pieces? Right? I could calculate the area of 1 semicircle and multiply it by 4, or I could calculate the area of 1 circle and multiply it by 2. Either way would come out the same. Okay? Area of a square is the side squared. How big is the side of the square? 3. So the area of the square is 3 squared, or 9. Area of a circle, pi r squared. Okay? What's the radius? The radius is not 3. What's the radius? 1.5. Remember, the 3 is the what? Diameter, and I've got to divide it by 2. So I'm going to take 3.14 times 1.5 times 1.5. Remember that when I do that, it would give me 2 of the 4 semicircles, wouldn't it? Because if I put 2 semicircles together, it gives me a whole circle. When I get this answer, what am I going to have to multiply it by? I'm going to have to multiply it by 2 so that I can get the other 2 semicircles that were in this figure. Okay. So, if I multiply that out, 3.14 times 1.5 times 1.5 times 2. 14.13. What do I do with my two numbers? I add them together. 14.13 and 9 would be 23.13, and because it's area, it is meters squared. By the way, after you've done about a couple hundred of these, would you need to write these formulas down anymore? No, because what's going to happen after you've done maybe 100 or so of them? You're going to already know that formula, aren't you? The reason I write that formula every time is to encourage you to do what? Write that formula every time. Because if you get used to writing that formula, after you've written it a bunch of times, you're just going to know what the formula is for each one of those shapes. Because again, without the formula, can you do the work? No, you're done. Everybody good with number 6? Number 7. How many people did this with 3 shapes, just out of curiosity? Okay. Did you use a rectangle, a triangle, and a square? Okay. I did this. I did 2 shapes. Okay. I did, the first shape is a rectangle. What shape is this on this side over here? What is this? It's not a parallelogram. What is it? It's a trapezoid. And I'd use the formula for a trapezoid on this one.
So even if it doesn't have the other side up there?
A trapezoid, to be a trapezoid, all it has to have is 2 sides that are parallel to each other. These 2 can't be parallel to each other. Okay? Now, with that being said, formula for a rectangle is length times width. If you're using base times height, that's okay. Formula for a trapezoid: 1/2 the height, parentheses B1 plus B2. What's the length of my rectangle? 10. What's the width? 8. 10 times 8, or 80. What's the height of my trapezoid? If this whole thing was 10, and I've used 6 up, how much is this? 4. So the height of my trapezoid is 4. If this whole base was 14, and I've used 8 going this way, this is 6. So my 2 bases are 6 and 4. Everybody with me? Understand where the numbers came from. 1/2 the height, which is 4, times 6 plus 4. What's half of 4? What is 6 plus 4? And what's 2 times 10? What's 80 plus 20? Remember, we've got to add the two pieces together. I get 100 feet squared. Everybody understand the concepts. I'm not going to work any more out. We're just going to look at them. We're just going to look at them and say what shapes we'd add together. What shape is this one on the top? Semicircle. Can you tell me what the formula is? A equals what? Pi r squared divided by what? 2. Yes. At some point, I've just got to say that we've got to have time to do the other work. Okay? How would I work this one out? This shape. This is a rectangle. It would be the area equals length times width. And how would I work this one out? Area equals 1/2 the base times the height. What was the radius in this one? What's the radius? 2. The diameter is 4. Radius is half as big. What's the length and the width in the rectangle? 6 and 4. What's the base and the height in the triangle? If this whole thing was 7 and I used 4 up here, this is 3, and the height is 2. With that information, you should be able to find the area of that. Are you with me? What two shapes for 9? Semicircle and a rectangle. This would be length times width. This would be pi r squared, but divided by what? 2. And in this one, they actually gave me the radius instead of the diameter. I don't have to divide it by 2. All right? Now, the mastery test. Listen, it's short. It's 10 questions. Would you? No. Mastery test. It's going to be on integers. Can you add, subtract, multiply, and divide? Okay? It's on integers. When you're done with it, you bring it up to me, and I'll give you the worksheet that you can work on for homework. It is 9 more questions, just like the ones that you had today. All right? Same style question. How do I want your work done? I want to see it the way that I did it. I need to see that broken apart, and I need to see that work, not just answers. Make sure your eyes stay on your own paper. And nobody should be talking. There's not much to show on this. And it's either going to be right or wrong. There's just not much to show.